Hey guys, I just wanted to make a video today. It's gonna be like my top tips for beginner succulent growers. Just because I see a lot of people bring home succulents and they are not sure what to do with them, or they bring them home and they start dying, and they can't figure out what happened. So you're going to the store, right, and you're looking at succulents and you pick one up and you want to try it because you've heard that they're very easy, that they just need little to no water and a lot of sunlight and they'll be okay. So one of my first things, and this is something that I always do when I go to the store and I buy plants, is it's not always there, but I try to look at the tag and I try to see where they came from. So I live in Arizona. It is so hot, it is so dry. I can put things inside, I can put things outside, but I first try to think about where the plant might have come from, because it probably hasn't been in the store for too long, because otherwise you'll probably start to notice that it starts to look bad and then you know it's been in the store for a while. But what I look for is, like, was it grown in California? That's the nearest place that a lot of our plants come from here in Arizona. So I try to see if they're from there, or they might be from Florida. I've seen succulents that are grown in Canada before. So I try to look at where the plants come from, and then I try to adjust what I'm gonna do with them when I get home based on that. So one of the things that, I try to think about is what kind of light was it in, is it in, and where am I going to put it? So if it's in a grocery store, a lot of times there's literally no sunlight in there. So I'm not gonna go home and put this succulent out on my front porch in the beaming sunlight. Although it seems like they should be in direct sunlight because they love sun, some succulents literally just don't need that much sun. Some would love that, but you need to acclimate them first. So what I usually do is I bring my succulent home, I put it somewhere safe, not in the direct sun. Even if it was at the store, I try not to do that because it's gonna be shocked already. Sometimes I put them inside. If they were from the store, like in the grocery store. If I'm buying from like a greenhouse, I will consider putting them outside in my greenhouse here. It is protected. There's sunshade all around this. It's not the most shady place, but it is protected from direct sunlight all day. So a lot of my plants get like dappled sun all day. So I will just adjust based on where the plant came from. If you live somewhere where it snows and it's super cold, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that. It's barely ever cold enough here to kill any of the plants that I have in this greenhouse, so I'm sorry. I don't know. If it snows where you live, I would definitely probably try to keep it inside until the warm months come around, but then you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to plant it in a big container and bring it inside or outside or whatnot, but I'm just not gonna get into that. So you found a spot or whatever, and you bring it home and you found a spot and you put it there. I would not water it for a while. I would just see how it does. A lot of people start to freak out too, I feel like people start to see that their plant is losing a leaf, or it starts to open up for some reason, or it starts to close up. But succulents don't do that super fast. So it's kind of hard to troubleshoot when you bring them home, because succulents, I feel like they tend not to respond to their change environment as quickly as some other plants will. So just keep an eye on them. I usually don't water them right away. I give them like a couple days, and then I'll decide if I need to water them based on if they've been watered at the store or not. If the soil was super dry at the store, but the plant that you've picked is healthy, then still don't water it. It's safe to just not water it because they'll be okay. If it is super wet, I definitely would not water it right away. I would wait till it dries out. Most succulents come and they're so compact in the soil already because they've been in there for so long that you can just pull it out and check. So I'm gonna show you Okay, so I'm gonna show you this, right? Echeveria Lola, this one is called. It's a pretty common succulent, I feel like. Still in the same container that I bought it in, but if you are able to do this and the soil comes right out, that's fine, not a big deal. And it actually helps you check to see if it's been watered. I watered this morning. Look at how wet it is. Succulents actually prefer to be compact in soil like this. I'm just telling you, it's fine. This is perfect because it's so easy to water this because you already know that the soil is so compact, and when the soil gets compact like this, it dries out so fast, and that is what you want for succulent. So if you want to keep it in a container like that, you can find a small pot and you can literally put that pot inside of another pot and then keep it like that, like a cover pot. You can put that on top of it. If you're going to repot it, which most people want to do, they want to do like a succulent arrangement with like a bunch of succulents in it, or they want to just repot it in like a cute small pot that's perfect for the size that it is. I recommend something that does not keep moisture in too long, especially if you're going to be changing the soil. A succulent like this, right? It's 2 inches. I could literally buy a 2-inch terracotta pot and I could pull this out and I could plop this right in here and it would be fine. I like these little pots, they're so cute, so I tend to do that sometimes. But if you want to do like succulent arrangement, it's best to crowd them. I don't like to disturb the soil a lot if it's compact like that. I'll give them like a centimeter or 2 of soil around the edges, so don't choose a pot that's too big. Or I guess basically what I'm trying to say is don't upsize super big. Like, I'm not trying to put this in here because look at how much extra soil is going to be in there. So you want the soil to dry out completely. For me personally, my goal is to plant a succulent in a container, and if I'm going to water it, I want all of that water to be dried up by the end of the day. So if I were to choose to plant that succulent in a pot this big, which I could, I would just water it super lightly. Like I might give it like a sip of water like every other day, depending on how it responds and what it tells me. Yeah, so I would do that. And then some of the other things that I see people doing, I mean, the main one that I see people doing is just don't put a succulent right outside in the direct sun when you get it home, because it's super sad. And then another thing that I've seen people do is they start to freak out, like if their succulent comes home and it's like super compact and then it starts to open up, like the leaves start to just kind of spread out more. Yes, that does mean that it's looking for a little more light. Does it mean that your plant is literally going to die? No. You'll see them flatten out if they need a little bit more light, but that's just them adjusting. You don't need to move it directly out into the sunlight. You can just move it a little bit closer to sunlight, say if you're growing it inside. I have found that directly in a window where the sun shines right into the window is not a good idea. Don't do it. They will burn that way. I've seen that happen a lot for a lot of people, and it makes me sad. It makes me so sad. I have not yet burnt any of my succulents. One of the things that I am guilty of is overwatering, because I am an overwaterer. So if you repot your succulent, pot it in well-draining soil. Succulent mixes, like at the store, they're not going to be well-draining enough. Like if you're buying like Miracle-Gro succulent mix, don't do that. Or if you do that, add something in it. And you can add pumice or you can add vermiculite. Those are two things that you can add, but you would have to go out and buy those. If you're like me and you don't want to go out and buy those, you can literally just go outside, pick a bunch of rocks up and add them to your soil. If you're that kind of person, which I am, I don't want to go out and spend money on vermiculite and pumice. You can if you want to. I will say that it's probably better for your succulents, but you don't have to. Or if you don't want to adjust the soil, then just don't water it like crazy. I do use the misting method for some of my succulents, which means I just go and I mist them thoroughly on top of the soil every day. Some succulents are going to suffer from this, so that doesn't apply to all succulents. I would say don't mist succulents that have hair, or if you see that they have that white powdery stuff on the leaves, that's farina is what it's called, and that is supposed to protect your succulents from sunburn. So if you have a succulent like that, I have a pretty good example of one like that. This is a succulent cocoon plant is what it's called. So it has these white hairs on the leaves, and what happens is if you mist them, the water gets trapped right on top, and then it starts to get soggy and nasty. So ones that have glossy leaves, I would say that you could mist those. The Echeveria Lola that I showed you, I mist that every day, and it does just fine. It does fine. It dries up by the end of the day. It's really hot here. If you live somewhere else, like Florida, California, humidity is so high, you could probably just water it like once a week and you'd be okay. But I live somewhere where the air is just sucking the moisture out of everything. So those are just a few tips that I have. I can't think of anything else that I really want to say. If you buy succulents at the store, buy ones that are healthy. I see a lot of people trying to start like unhealthy ones. I'm gonna show you guys this right now. Like this Echeveria multicallus, I think it's called. Multicallus, yeah. So this is one that was on clearance. It's super sad. Will this come back? Yes, it will. Will it take a lot of time? Yes. I guess that brings me to another point. One of the things that I wanted to say is, let's say you find yourself in a situation where your succulent does suffer sunburn or something like that. Just know that they can recover from something like that, but your plant is going to not be pleasant to look at for a while because the leaves don't just come back. Those leaves are gonna look like that for a while until it grows new leaves. So I'm sorry if I just gave you some bad news. At that point, if you really want to, then you might as well just go out and buy another one. Or if you go to a good store, some stores have pretty good policies, and if you bring the plant back and it died, they'll actually replace it. One of the places that I go around here does have like a lifetime warranty, so if your plant ever dies, you can bring it back and return it and get a new one. I have yet to take advantage of that because I've never done that. So if any of you guys out there have done that, share your experience with that, because I don't know. I feel a little bit guilty about bringing a plant back that I've killed probably, and then getting a new one. Because I feel like it was my fault, and if it's my fault, then I should buy a new one. But that's just me. I don't know. Share your thoughts. I'm not judging people who go back and return plants, because why the heck not get another one if it's dead and you're not happy with it, right? Okay, so let's just do a recap. My tips for beginners for succulents. For your succulents, find out where they grow, find out where they came from, find out where you're gonna put them, and then acclimate them, because people say that they're easy, but I'd say that they're easy, but you still have to consider that they need acclimation. You can't just like throw them in the dirt and expect them to grow. Some you can, some you can't. They're all different. There are many different varieties. I don't know how many. Maybe I can put the number up here of how many different species there are, but they're not all the same. So I would research the certain species that you get and find out what works best for them. Second thing, do not put your succulents directly in the sunlight. I feel like almost no succulent loves this. Unless you live somewhere where maybe the sunlight is not as intense. I found that if I put a succulent in direct sunlight, it's gonna die right away. Consider the temperature. Succulents, I think their ideal temperature is between 60 and 80 degrees. So anything lower than that or anything higher than that, they're gonna need a little bit of help. Aside from your general succulent care, which is like well-draining soil, water like what, once a week, or water when the soil is completely dry is what people usually say. You may need to adjust this based on the temperature and the light that you have. So just remember that. Okay, cool. I just wanted to share a few things that I've seen people having difficulty with succulents. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.